welcome to Yorkshire Voice on Friday, May the 11th. I'm Lizzie McKellen.
And I'm Tyler Morell. Here are today's top stories.
A memorial was held today for the 16th anniversary of a fire in Huddersfield. Survivor Mohammed Shafiq attended the ceremony in memory of those he lost on that tragic day.
A lifeline has been given to Huddersfield Royal Infirmary after plans to close the hospital have been halted.
And Compost Awareness Week finishes today, and with this, gardeners hope that people will start composting more. First today, an emotional appeal from a Huddersfield man who lost 8 members of his family in an arson attack 16 years today.
Police believe they know who carried out the horrific crime and want to extradite him from Pakistan back to the UK. Zohar Shah reports.
At the bottom of Osborne Road in Huddersfield, where 8 people died in a fire in 2002. We got the chance to speak with the leading detective of the case of how things are going.
West Yorkshire police are fighting to secure the extradition of murder suspect Shahid Mohammed, who is currently in custody in Pakistan.
You know, there was a whole backstory to this that involved a relationship between a girl and a boy, and the family didn't like it, and this family became involved in that, and under that banner of family honour, it was decided that a lesson should be taught. It is always frustrating when you know that there is a suspect that we desperately want to get our hands on, incarcerated in a foreign country, and we have very little, if any, influence over that. So that is frustrating. I would just like to say that you know, these cases never go away. For this family, this case will never go away.
Mohammed Shafiq was present in the house at the time of the fire and managed to jump out of the window and save his life, but his mother and other family members couldn't make it.
जो painful memories हैं, हम इस घर में बहुत अरसा रहे हैं, लेकिन
we have lived in this house for a long time, but after this incident, none of us feel like seeing or coming back to this place. So, whenever we pass by this house, we try not to think about what happened that night when the incident occurred. The insurance company has fixed the house and also fixed the smoke signs as well. It looks like a normal house now, but it is still very hard for us.
West Yorkshire police say they are determined to seek justice for the Chisti family and pressure the authorities to bring Shahid Mohammed back to the UK for trial. Zohar Shah, Yorkshire Voice.
The Huddersfield Royal Infirmary has been saved from closure, at least for the time being. This unexpected decision was announced today by Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt. Our health editor, Rebecca Romano, is here now. So, Rebecca, can you tell us what exactly has happened today?
Well, it's been a really good day for the people of Huddersfield. Today, Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt has sent a letter to Kirklees and Calderdale health officials asking them to rethink plans to close down the hospital. For a couple of years now, we've been thinking about shutting down the A&E department completely and moving that over to Calderdale, and then building a smaller site on the actual site of the hospital, which would only take about 64 beds.
So can you tell us what this letter actually says from Jeremy Hunt?
So it says that the IRP has found a load of flaws, and so Mr Hunt has decided that the closure wouldn't be in the best interest of the people of Huddersfield or Calderdale. And so he's asking the NHS to rethink the plans.
And how have people in Huddersfield reacted then to this news?
Well, people have been campaigning to stop this for years, so they'll be really happy. Huddersfield MP Barry Sherman has been tweeting about it. He's been very supportive of the campaigners. He's tweeted saying, "Absolutely delighted that the government have ruled the proposals to downgrade the HRI are flawed and not in the interest of local people. What a victory for the campaign."
Thanks very much, Rebecca. And the AA has released a report saying the number of claims for pothole-related damage to cars has tripled since last year.
The organisation has described it as a national embarrassment and a pothole epidemic.
Jasmine Blacker spoke to residents in Horsforth about the roads in their West Yorkshire town.
There has been 4,200 pothole-related claims this year so far. This is tripled from last year. The average cost for the damages caused is £1,000. The AA reckon it is costing £1 million a month.
I think a lot of the time you don't actually realise how high they are as well. So you kind of especially when there's a certain speed limit, say if it's 30 or 40, you'll do that speed limit or up to that speed limit. And then you're sort of happily driving along, but actually you probably should be driving over them about 10 miles an hour, but you don't realise until you go over them. So it kind of, you just hear a bit of a clunk and then you just think, oh heck, what's that done to my car? So yeah, it's not great.
I haven't had any damage yet, fortunately, but it's easy to understand how it happened, yeah. There's so everywhere, and poor weather conditions just made it worse over the winter. It's quite noticeable now.
Scotland Lane, which I go down quite a few times. Had a puncture down there going over a pothole. It was so deep, so I was very annoyed about that.
The AA says the number of pothole claims made to them during the first 4 months of 2018 is more than the whole of 2017. The council says it spends over £1 million a year to tackle potholes, but admit this is not enough. Jasmine Blacker, Yorkshire Voice.
A spectacular sculpture has been unveiled today in West Yorkshire in memory of hundreds of soldiers from Featherstone who lost their lives in World War I.
Yes, a giant metal statue has been created and placed in a field of poppies.
I went along earlier to the unveiling ceremony.
And we're going to also be having the unveiling of the latest artwork in Featherstone, which is of course the one and only Warhorse.
Featherstone, a small town in West Yorkshire, is now home to the Warhorse. The Warhorse was built to commemorate the soldiers that fought in World War I from Featherstone and stands beside the poppy fields at Millpond Meadow.
This came about, it started 4 years ago when we were looking to commemorate the 100 years of the First World War, and we have created a commemorative wood to remember 353 men who left Featherstone, which is a relatively small town, and never came back. We created the wood, and then we wanted to create something that little bit extra to enhance the site, so we decided to commission a piece of public art, and this is the result.
So we use about 2.4 kilometres of wire, and it's all bent by hand over about 2 or 3 months. We started with a small maquette of a horse so that we could kind of get the right proportion and that. And then from that maquette, what we did, we scanned it with a 3D scanner, brought a model of the horse into the computer. Wire was all done freehand, and then we started to bring in building freehand all the kind of muscle structures, and we based a lot of it on like anatomical drawings of horses. So if you look closely, all of the kind of muscle groups are represented in the model in the finished sculpture.
The Warhorse is now one of Featherstone's main public landmarks in the field that's now called a place of peace to be together. It's hoped to be the place where local residents can gather to meet, spend time in reflection, or simply enjoy the artwork and surroundings. Tyler Morell, Yorkshire Voice. Here's Simon for a full roundup for today's sport.
There's Yorkshire football in action this weekend. Firstly, Rotherham travel to Scunthorpe on Saturday in the first leg of their League One playoff clash at Glanford Park. Then we have Huddersfield Town taking on Arsenal at home for the final game of the Premier League season. Pressure should be off for the Terriers, who have already secured their Premier League status for the next season with a 1-1 draw away at Chelsea on Wednesday. Leeds United have been in action today in Mandalay against Myanmar national team as part of the club's controversial tour to Burma. United won 2-0 with goals coming from Ryan Edmondson and J. Roy Grott. In cricket, Yorkshire are currently in action against Surrey as part of their 4-day test match down the Oval. Yorkshire are yet to bat and Surrey are currently 209 for 6. Yorkshire Rugby League teams are playing tonight in the 6th round of the Ladbrokes Challenge Cup, which sees Huddersfield take on Wakefield and Leeds Rhinos take on Widnes at the Select Security Stadium. Then tomorrow sees Castleford at home to take on St Helens at 2:30.
Stay with us as we visit some cute donkeys. It's Compost Awareness Week and gardening enthusiasts have been encouraging the public to get involved with composting.
Yes, gardening centres have been heavily involved in the awareness campaign, and our very own Tyler has gone along to dig some dirt on the story.
Compost Awareness Weekends today and Leeds City Council have set up a stall at Landlord's Garden Centre to show how people can get involved in recycling and composting.
This week is composting week for Leeds City Council, so we've just come down to give out a bit of information, advice and a bit of guidance. Composting is a brilliant way to sort of recycle and reuse. Yeah, and that's something huge for Leeds City Council or for us as a nation. We've got some information, some leaflets. We've also got some free pens, some bags that we're giving out, and also we've actually got a competition going as well. So we're asking people to sign up and just give their information, sort of name, address, and they can actually win an inside or an outside composting bin.
Next door in Wakefield, the council have a garden waste disposal bin, which benefits the local residents and also local gardeners.
Well, mainly in Wakefield we have compost bins which go back to the council depot, and it's all composted and resold to everybody in the Wakefield area. As a gardener, I use everybody's compost bins to which house I go to, knowing that everything I put in the bin will be recomposted. Everybody should compost, it saves them money, it's good for the environment. With the council bins, nobody's got an excuse not to compost. They might not think they are composting, but what goes in that bin comes back in compost, which we can buy.
Another resident in Barnsley believes in making and using your own compost, as there might be some other uses for compost than people think.
You can put the newspapers in, the garden weeds and the tea bags and bits from dinner, what's left from dinner, put it all in and lay compost down. If they've large gardens, I'll definitely say get a compost bin and use them yourself in your own garden. Now, if you've allotment, it's essential to have a compost bin because it helps you, it'll save you a lot of money in compost and things like that.
Now, for almost a decade, there has been a growing problem of equestrian neglect in the UK.
Sadly, 15% of donkeys show signs of fear when approached by people, and 60% of donkeys are underweight.
International Donkey Week aims to raise awareness about the fate of some of our four-legged friends. Our reporter Katie Hasselzine has more.
Compost Awareness Weekends today and Leeds City.
This week it's International Donkey Week, so we've come down to Hope Pastures Horse and Donkey Sanctuary to meet the supervisors and volunteers who look after the neglected and abandoned horses and donkeys.
Meet Coco and Banjo, just two examples of millions of neglected donkeys around the world. Coco was just a foal when he was thrown from the back of a transit van in Bradford, and Banjo, auctioned off and beaten so badly by his owner that when he was rescued it took 3 years to tame him. Thanks to charities like Hope Pastures, they have a chance at a new beginning.
So some people can't care for them anymore. Some people rescue them and then realise that they can't afford to keep them, but they've done the right thing by rescuing them and then have to hand the animal over. Some of the animals are abandoned or just unwanted, and sadly sometimes the owners pass away of animals, so it just depends. Every story is different.
International Donkey Week is a campaign to raise awareness of the treatment of donkeys, not only in the UK but all around the world. There are an estimated 43 million working donkeys across the globe, but due to a lack of knowledge, they are often cared for incorrectly and endure lives of hardship.
It's an equine welfare crisis, and it is just becoming worse in the UK, and the main cause behind it is indiscriminate breeding and a really low market value for horses and donkeys. So you can buy them really cheaply. They end up with conformational problems and health problems, and they don't end up being animals that are really easy to rehome because they've got so many issues. A lot of people, I think horses and donkeys are the same, need the same care and treatment, but they're actually very different to ponies. They're very intelligent, they learn very quickly, and they tend to show fear by freezing. So a lot of people will say donkeys and mules are stubborn, but actually when they're frightened they'll freeze. So they can be quite misunderstood, but they're extremely smart and they're very funny, and they're just full of personality. Each donkey we've had here has been so different, and they're actually wonderful to care for.
Coco and Banjo can be sponsored and adopted by the public. This is Katie Hazeldown reporting for the Yorkshire Voice.
And this weekend, one of the highlights on Leeds' calendar is the half marathon. The 33rd event will get underway on Sunday at 9:30 in the morning.
This charity has been preparing for the big race.
I'm here with Sarah Booth, who is going to be taking part in the Leeds half marathon this Sunday. So, how are you feeling about that?
A little bit daunted, just the thought of running so far on the tarmac and wondering what the heat's going to be like, especially after the recent London Marathon that was so hot. But yeah, very excited and very pleased to be raising money for Wheatfield Hospice.
Okay. And how have you been preparing for it?
Well, I'm a long distance runner, so for me running a short distance is probably harder because I need to be running faster. So I'm actually a member of the Pudsey Pacers, so I've been training a lot with them to try and get my speed up. So it's regular running and just trying to think about the distance and running more on the road as well.
You're specifically running to raise money for this hospice.
I am, yes, yeah.
And you've been working for this hospice. So can you tell us a bit about that?
I've been working for Wheatfield, I think, for nearly 19 years. I started initially on the ward and now I'm a community nurse. I'm really quite passionate about the work that we do for the people of Leeds. Our role is very much about making people's lives as best as we possibly can, because the people we deal with are those with a terminal illness. So it's not just the patients that are ill, it's supporting their families and the other people that are affected by their disease. So I'm very, very keen to make sure that we give the best support for people. We are a charity, so we rely very much on the fundraising that people do, so that's why I'm very keen to raise money for the hospice.
Okay. And what would you say to people who are thinking about taking part in the Leeds Half Marathon this weekend?
Oh, the first thing I always say to people is don't start too fast. Don't drink too much water. Make sure you're drinking electrolyte drinks, especially if it's a warm day. But enjoy it, because at the end of the day, if you're pushing yourself too hard, trying to get a really good time, you may well sort of overdo it and not enjoy it. And that's the thing about running, it is about enjoying it and just taking part.
Okay, well, thank you for your time. And the Leeds Half Marathon kicks off this Sunday at 9:30.
It's been announced that an iconic Yorkshire beer will be brewed in God's own county once again. Tetley's Brewery was closed in 2011.
It was Britain's largest cask ale brewery, employing thousands of people and having ownership of about 1,000 pubs.
So we're here at the famous Tetley's Brewery Wharf, where today it was announced that it will be returning to Leeds. After 6 years in Wolverhampton, the famous pint is finally coming home. They don't actually make it here anymore, it's now an art gallery, but they still serve the famous pint. Tetley's is one of Britain's oldest and best loved ales and was brewed in Leeds for nearly 200 years and has a strong and proud history that is synonymous with the city. Pint of Tetley's, please. Tetley's still lives by its founder Joshua Tetley's mantra, quality pays, and centuries on still produces its beer under the same recipes. The brewing won't actually take place at the original building, but just a few roads away at the Leeds Brewery. But owners Carlsberg are keen that things remain tightly connected to its roots. This is Steve Molyneux reporting for the Yorkshire Voice. Cheers!
That's it for now, but join us again on Monday where we'll have further coverage of the marathon and much more.
Don't forget to check the Yorkshire Voice website for regular updates throughout the day.
That's it for now. Bye-bye.